Hey, what's up? Today I wanted to make a video sharing my experiences with gaming on Linux. And as of right now, I've been on Linux for about a month now, more specifically Linux Mint Debian Edition. And since video games is important to me, I figured that I would make a video about it. And so if you're thinking about switching to Linux, or if you're simply curious about Linux gaming, then this video could be for you, okay? And that being said, I'm mostly going to talk about video games that I personally play and that I personally love. And most of these games are MMOs, RPGs, smaller indie games, and Blizzard games, okay? So those are the games that I'm going to talk about. So let's go right in. Alright, so the first game that I wanted to talk about is Guild Wars 2. And Guild Wars 2 is one of my favorite video game. It is an MMORPG and it is subscription free. And because it is subscription free, I often find myself wanting to replay the game and just get back into the game or simply catch up with the game from time to time because I love the game. But the thing is that if you want to play Guild Wars 2 on Linux, by default, ArenaNet is not supporting the game on Linux because it is only available on Windows. But if you want to play this game on Linux, there is something that you can do, and it is simply to play the game with Steam and Steam Proton, because Guild Wars 2 was actually added to Steam, I think it was a few years ago in 2020 or 2021. And so what you can do here is simply play Guild Wars 2 inside Steam. And for that, you'll obviously need a Proton. And you see right now I am on ProtonDB. And as you can see, it is supported. It runs perfectly out of the box. And the only thing that you really need to do in order to make it work on Steam is that you need some sort of code here, okay? Provider portal here. And the reason you need this little code here is because if you're going to play on Steam, when you launch the game, it is going to use your Steam account. And so if you're like me and you have a normal account with ArenaNet account, what you need to do here is simply take this little code here, which has a provider portal, and you simply go into the properties of the game, and in the launch options, you simply paste this little code here, provider portal. And what that does is that when you actually launch the game, it is actually going to launch the launcher, the login launcher, and you'll be able to use your Guild Wars 2 account. So far, I've been playing that much Guild Wars 2, but I was able to download it, I was able to launch the game, and it seems to be working pretty good, and I was able to mess around. So I think that's pretty cool. And the second game that I wanted to talk about is old school RuneScape. The reason I want to talk about it is because I grew up playing this game and I absolutely love this game. And from time to time, I subscribe to the game and I go back playing it because it gives me a feeling of nostalgia or whatever. And the game is also updated and the developers actually listen to the player base. So I just think it's really amazing. And if you're a RuneScape player, you're probably familiar with RuneLit, which is basically the most popular game client. And RuneLit is available on Linux, but you see, the problem is that recently Jagex launched the Jagex launcher, which allows you to connect all your RuneScape character under one account. But you see, the problem with the Jagex launcher is that it's not available on Linux, okay? And it's available on Windows, on Mac, but not on Linux. And so if you're trying to play old school RuneScape using the RuneLit client on Linux, what you can do is simply use this Jagex launcher Flatpak that I found on GitHub. And it's a little bit complicated to install. You have to go through some sort of command line here, and it's a Flatpak. You just install it, and basically it includes I think there's Proton in the Flatpak, there's also Wine. And so what it does is that it literally allows you to launch the Jagex launcher on Linux. And so if I can show you here, I have the Jagex launcher and it is running on Wine. And so once you have the launcher, what you can do is simply select Runlit here, select the character that you want, and then you can play the game. And so just like Guild Wars, I haven't played that much so far, but I've been able to log into the game and just mess around on the GE or whatever, but I didn't subscribe or anything. But the fact that you're able to log into the game and play the game on Linux, I think it is pretty cool. So now the third thing on the list isn't really a specific game, but I simply wanted to talk about smaller indie games that I've been enjoying lately. And lately, since I'm on Linux, I've played Vampires, Survivor, I've been playing 80s, I've been playing Dome Keeper and Dead Thrash a little bit, but not that much. And so those are not very big, massive, popular game, but lately I've been having a lot of fun with them. And these games are available on Steam and they are supported by Proton. And I've been able to run these games without any problems. And the cool thing about these games is that most of these games you can use the Xbox controller. In my case, I have one, and so you can simply plug the controller inside your computer and the controller is working properly without any bug, and so you can simply use the controller with these games without any problem. So the next game on the list is Warcraft Rumble that was made by Blizzard, and technically this game here is not a computer game, it is a phone game, but so in my case it's just that I love to record my games so that I can also upload them on YouTube and on the internet, and so I love using my computer in order to record the game, and it's just easier with my computer. And so when I was on Windows, what I was doing is that I was using an Android emulator. I was using BlueStack to make it work and record the game. But if you're on Linux, what you can do here is that, yes, you can probably also find an emulator to make it work. But what I found is that I think I found something better that I've been working like wonderfully for me. And this program here, it has a weird name. Okay, I'm not gonna say it because it's just a bunch of letters here, but it's a free and open source software that you can simply find on GitHub and simply clone it to your computer, and it's basically running right here on my computer. Okay, and basically what it does is that instead of being an emulator, it is literally mirroring your own phone screen from your phone. So it is connected to my computer, and so basically I can literally use the mouse and keyboard to play on the screen on my computer, but I can also keep using my phone here. The only thing to make it work is that you need to enable the developer mode on your phone to make this work. And so the cool thing that I love about this method here is that the software here doesn't show any ads. When I was playing on BlueStack on Windows, BlueStack, it had a bunch of ads and it was always distracting me. There was always a bunch of things flashing. And the cool thing about this software too is that you can keep playing on your phone. You see, this game here was optimized for phones, obviously, and so the fact that you can still keep playing on the phone instead of using the emulator on your computer, I just think it's a better experience. So I cannot say if this software here is working on Windows as well, but for me, it has been a very great experience with this software here. Now, the fifth point that I wanted to talk about is Bardnet. And in my case, I grew up playing Blizzard games and using the Bardnet launcher, and I've been playing mostly World of Warcraft. In the past, I've been a pretty huge player of World of Warcraft, but unfortunately, as of right now, it is not officially supported on the Linux platform. And so if you want to play Blizzard game or use the Bardnet launcher, you kind of have to find ways around. So right now, I'm just going to show you a way that you can download and install the Bardnet launcher. But that being said, I haven't tried to install any game with it, and I haven't tried to run it. So the first thing that we are going to use here is Lutris. and you basically install Lutris on your computer here. It's a website, but you can also download it on your computer. And to download it on your computer, you can simply go in the software manager and you'll find Lutris in the software manager. And then what you want to do here is simply search for Bardnet in the search command here, and you can find the Blizzard Bardnet thing here. And what you can do is simply install it, add it to your library or whatever, and then what it's going to do is that it's going to install it on your computer here, but it's going to use Wine here. And so here I can simply play and launch the Bardnet launcher. And so there it is. Right now I am on the Bardnet launcher and I haven't installed any game yet, but you can use Wine to launch the Bardnet launcher, and you can probably also use Wine to play any of these Blizzard games. Now, yes, you might be able to do that, but from my experience, I mean, a few years ago, I was using Linux and I played World of Warcraft on Linux. Like, yes, you're able to play games using Wine, but from my experience, yes, you can make it work, but it's not a very good experience. And I think Wine works better for smaller games. And for bigger games like World of Warcraft and Blizzard games, I don't think using Wine is a very good idea. I mean, maybe it improved over the years. I haven't tried it yet, but you know, just know that it's possible to do it. So now the sixth and final point that I wanted to talk about are the game launchers that are available on Linux that you can use to play video games. And so obviously the first one is Steam. And if you don't know Steam, I don't really know what to tell you. And the cool thing about Steam is that Steam is developing Steam Proton, which allows you to play Windows game on Linux. And so the fact that they're supporting more and more games on Linux, I just find that very attractive. And so there's also a website here that you can go. It's called protondb.com. And here you can basically find any games that you want to play or that you want to search, and basically it's going to tell you if Proton is supporting it. And so, for example, earlier I was looking at Guild Wars 2 here, and you can simply search the game that you want to play, and there you go. Now Guild Wars 2 is here, and you can see that it is platinum. And so what that means is that it runs perfectly out of the box. And so in this case here, you can do the same thing for any game or any Steam game that you want to play. The other game launcher that I want to talk about is, just like earlier, I talked a little bit about Lutris. So Lutris is a launcher that allows you to connect many gaming accounts like GOG, Epic Game, Origin, and Ubisoft Connect. And so you're able to connect your accounts here, and so you might be able then to launch these games related to these accounts. And so the idea is that you download these games and you try to use the right compatibility software in order to play them and to launch them. And so the third software that you can also use is Heroic Games Launcher. And Heroic Game Launcher is basically very similar to Lutris in the way that you connect your gaming accounts. And the difference with Heroic Games Launcher is that you can also play Amazon Prime Gaming using this software here. And so in the same way, you can connect your Epic Store games, you can connect your GOG Store game and your Prime Gaming, and you download your game here, and you might be able to launch them using Proton or Wine or any of these compatibility softwares. So in conclusion, I think that it is currently very possible to play video games on Linux with, oftentimes you'll be using some sort of compatibility layers like Proton, Wine, or some sort of Flatpak. But it is definitely better than it was a few years ago when I was using and gaming with Linux. But for me personally, I think that these compatibility layers are good enough for me, and I'm gonna keep using Linux for now. We'll see in the future if I change my mind, but for now, this is good enough for me. And the reason for that is because most of my favorite games are already available on Linux, and they seem to run pretty well. And so, for example, Guild Wars, I'm able to play it, and old school RuneScape, I'm able to play it. And as of right now, yes, I'm able to download and install the Bardnet launcher, and we'll see in the future if I decide to install something like World of Warcraft or any Blizzard game. So that being said, I genuinely think that Linux gaming still has a lot of improvement to do, because it doesn't really compare to Windows as of right now. And if you're a big heavy gamer as of right now, you're definitely better off with Windows, because on Windows all your games are going to be available without any trouble. And if you're going to play on Linux, I mean, yes, you might be able to play, but you have to make some sort of sacrifices to use these compatibility layers. And also know that on some multiplayer games, you have to be very careful with anti-cheats system that might check your kernel or whatever. And so if you play any of these games on Linux, you might have problems and you might get banned on some games. So that's something that you need to think about, okay? And so ultimately, if you're going to play on Linux, or if you're thinking about switching on Linux and you want to play video games, I would very recommend that you make your research first, and you first check the games that you play or that you want to play, and to make sure that the games are actually supported, and you check the other people's experiences, and you check that the anti-cheat or anything related to these things actually work on Linux, and you don't get your account banned. And so in any case, another thing that you can do is that if you don't want to game on Linux, you can also dual boot Linux and Windows in the same time, or you can run Windows VMs. So that way you can still use Linux for your other things. But for now, that's pretty much it for this video, and I hope that this video was helpful to you. And if this video was valuable to you, you could consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. And if you have any thoughts or comments, you can leave them below, because I will reply to everything. And also your comments and thoughts could also be useful to other people, so you can comment everything down there. So that's pretty much it for this video, okay? Peace.